Kawhi Leonard has only played 5 games this season. We're 21 games in, Clipper Nation. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard are now out at the same time again. Is it time to panic a little bit? Time to be concerned? Going to be talking about that and more on today's Locked On Clippers.
You are Locked On Clippers, your daily Los Angeles Clippers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, sir. You are locking in with the Clips. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers the first listen of your day, your team every day. I'm your host, Darian Vaziri, in my 18th season as a Clipper fan. You can also follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod and subscribe to my own YouTube channel where I do even more sports content, especially Clipper content, at Dime Dropper on YouTube. And of course, subscribe to Locked On Clippers on YouTube because it's the fastest way to grow the show. And answer today's question on a scale of 1 to 10. How concerned are you about the lack of availability from Kawhi Leonard so far this season in the Clippers' quest for a championship? Not to have a great season, if you are on the bandwagon or on the team of fans that think this is the championship year or this is supposed to be the championship year with the current lack of availability of Kawhi Leonard, how would you rate your concern level 1 to 10 about the Clippers' odds of winning the championship? So, a couple of things we're going to talk about today. Exactly that. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, their health and how concerned you should be, how concerned I am. And then I'm going to talk about a little more positive spin on things, and that's the recent turnaround of Reggie Jackson and Norman Powell recently, which has caused the Clippers to get some wins even without Kawhi Leonard. And in recent games, Paul George. Let's start with the big question. I'm going to start with Paul George because he's out with a little hamstring injury. Now, you might be thinking, didn't Paul George struggle with a hamstring injury in 2020? Yes, but I believe that was his left hamstring, and this one is his right, so no connection there, thankfully. As of now, Paul George is set to miss his 5th and 6th games on this current 2-game road trip against Portland on Tuesday and then against Utah. And honestly, not even talking about the result of those games, I am not concerned about Paul George because, he's not the type of guy that's going to stay healthy for an entire season. You'd hope that if he gets injured, it's just smaller injuries throughout the season and nothing serious like that UCL elbow injury he had last season. He's missed 5 of the Clippers games so far, and he's going to miss 6 and 7. He'll miss his 6th and 7th coming up. So, 7 games. If he can come back after those games, then I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be very excited and very happy and very relieved. I don't know if he's going to come back after that. And that being said, I don't think he gets to his 10th game missed on this particular injury. I really hope not. But I wouldn't really be concerned about Paul George. I think Paul George is going to be fine. I think that it's not too serious anyway. I think they're just being pretty cautious. He's averaging 23.6 points per game, 6 rebounds, 4.3 assists, 1.6 steals per game. He's been really solid defensively, especially in the passing lanes. He's shooting 46% from the field and a very solid and improved from the beginning of the season, 37% from deep. So Paul George will be fine. You can argue he's been the Clippers' best player, but the real point of concern comes from Kawhi Leonard. It is, in my opinion, time to be a little bit concerned, Clipper Nation, and I know that as Clipper fans, we tend to always look at the positive, and I really want to look at the positive, but there is no way you can't be a little bit concerned. Now, am I saying that Kawhi Leonard can't return to his best? No, I'm not. Am I saying that Kawhi Leonard isn't the same Kawhi Leonard? No, I'm not. Am I saying that the Clippers still can't win the championship and Kawhi Leonard can't be the guy that leads them to the promised land? No, I'm not. I still think he can. But those hopes are dwindling by the week at this point for me. And I really, all of us, you can try to trick yourself into thinking that this wasn't that this was fine and this was the expectation. But the whole reason why Clipper fans were so excited for this upcoming season was because Kawhi Leonard was going to be playing, because we had the belief that we were going to have Kawhi Leonard somewhat frequently. People were setting their target games for him to play. I said 60 plus. A lot of people said 50 plus. At this rate, we're not even getting to 50. And I've never seen a team win the championship. And by the way, I'm not just talking about my 18 years as a basketball fan. I'm very big into the history of the game. I've studied seasons. You go to Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Bill Russell, all the guys that have led teams to championships. And in the seasons that they win the championship, those guys usually play 70 plus games. And even in Kawhi Leonard's case with Toronto, he played 60 games. You rarely see a guy miss the first 3/4 of the first 20 games of a season like Kawhi has missed. He's only played 5 games, and there's been 21 games played. He will miss the game against Portland. Status against Utah is questionable. Of course, he's out with that sprained ankle he sustained against Utah after being back for 3 games, still on a minutes restriction. He hasn't even broken his minutes restriction. I mean, it is concerning that the guy comes back and gets a new injury. It's very concerning. We need him to get the games under his belt that he can actually have 30-minute plus games, 20 shots in a game type situations to become or get back to that Kawhi Leonard. Because here's the funniest part about it all. Kawhi Leonard right now is averaging 10 points a game. He's played in 5 games. He's only averaging 22.4 minutes a game, and he's shooting 13% from 3. And all of that being said, the Clippers are 4-1 in the games that he's played. And if you think that's coincidence, you are sadly mistaken. He makes a difference when he's on the court. His presence, his aura, not only does it add seriousness, teams respect him defensively that way. On both ends of the floor, I've seen the visible fear, and I'm not just talking about this season, but since he's been on the Clippers, the visible fear and intimidation when guys are shooting shots against him or trying to shoot shots when he's behind him on screens, getting over screens, I should say. They shoot it differently. That he adjusts their shot. He truly is a presence on that end. And then offensively, they double team him. They load up on him, causing guys like even Paul George to get open shots, causing Reggie Jackson to get more open shots. So he already, even with everything you can say about him, makes a difference, even with him missing games. But I've never seen a guy that's the best player on his team that won the championship missed this many games to start the season. And you just got to hope as a Clipper fan that this will be an exception to that. Because the Clippers need Kawhi Leonard. And, if the Clippers win a championship, it's going to be because of Kawhi Leonard being the best player. I love Paul George. I love him to death. But I just don't trust the guy in terms of at that level. He makes really costly turnovers, and he doesn't generate enough easy baskets for me. It's really reliant on if his jump shot is falling. And if his jump shot's not falling, then the Clippers really tend to struggle as a team, and he really can have some terrible shooting nights. Kawhi Leonard, he generates easy baskets because he's such a brute force and so good in the mid-post. And obviously he has that confidence, that Terminator, thing about him. But I will stay optimistic. There's still so much season to be played. Hopefully Kawhi Leonard and Paul George are back within the next 5 games, and this doesn't matter. But I'm concerned about Kawhi Leonard being able to actually get enough games under his belt so we can see the best version of the Clippers. I am a little concerned. I know it's only game number 21, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. But coming up, going to be talking about something a little more positive, and that's the play of Reggie Jackson and Norman Powell, starting with Reggie Jackson. He's really turning it around, and you're hearing Reggie chants at Staples Center again. Have you ever wanted to drive an Aston Martin? Well, you may be able to with Turo. Turo is the world's largest car-sharing marketplace, and with Turo, you can book any car you want wherever you want it from a community of local hosts. It's not a rental car service. It is a car-sharing marketplace. Browse a huge selection of vehicles for just about any occasion or budget across the U.S., United Kingdom, Canada, and down under in Australia. Book a spacious SUV or a minivan for a family road trip, or even get a classic or luxury car for a special event, birthday, or holiday. You can find affordable economy cars if you're on a budget and just need to get from one place to one place. Test drive that new electric vehicle like a Tesla or a Chevy Volt you had your eye on to see how it fits in your everyday life. Many Turo hosts can even deliver the right car to you. Every trip is backed by liability insurance. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. Forget boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com. Thank you for making Locked On Clippers your first listen today. For your second listen today, check out Locked On Sports Today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports Today, available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, so we got the doom and gloom out of the way that I am a little concerned about the Kawhi Leonard thing, and I'm really concerned about his health moving forward. I am. I'm not going to lie, and I am concerned because even though the West, everyone's going to say the West doesn't look strong right now, it's not just the Western Conference you need to beat to win the championship. And again, I'm going to repeat, and many Clipper fans may disagree with me, and that's totally okay. But I would not be satisfied if the Clippers made the finals and lost. There's a reason for that. I know it would be a special for the Clippers to make their first finals. But as a basketball fan for this long, and for Clipper fans that have been a fan even longer, you know that making it to the finals is rare. And I know Steve Ballmer is changing everything, and the Clippers are a totally different franchise going forward than they have ever been. But when you get to the finals, man, you just don't know when you're going to get back. You don't know what injuries can occur. And this Clipper team right now with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George is a win-now team. You think this injury thing is going to get better for Kawhi moving forward in terms of year by year? You know, I really hope so. But I don't think that's how it works usually, Father Time and injury accumulation. But let's get to the positive stuff. Reggie Jackson, maybe the most, I don't want to say polarizing figure in Clipper Nation, but it seems like there's a large section of Clipper fans that think Reggie Jackson's play is just detrimental to the team. He's a low IQ NBA player. He takes shots like he's Kyrie Irving, and he's not. He's overhyped because of one amazing playoff run, and people chant his name. And there's another section of Clipper fans that love Reggie Jackson and the energy that he brings in terms of his enthusiasm, his team chemistry, in terms of the way everyone else talks about him, the clutch shots that he's made for the Clippers, game winner after game winner that I can name off the top of my head, in Detroit in 2021, against Orlando last season, against the Lakers, skipping up the court last season. I mean, the guy has made countless big shots for the Clippers, and of course, the 2021 playoff run, that was just otherworldly. The Reggie chants, everything, and the way he interacts with Clipper fans and how much he loves being part of the Clippers. But he's just so hit or miss as a basketball player sometimes. Some games, it's just exactly what I described. He's that amazing version where he's making shots that you're just like throwing your hands in the air. Like, if you're the opposing team, what are you going to do? Shots that I've never seen a player on the Clippers, or we've never had a player on the Clippers where I've had more moments watching a game where I'm like, what are you doing? Oh my goodness, he really hit that. I've had so many of those moments with Reggie Jackson, and if you watch my vlogs on my personal channel, you'll even hear them. Like, I'll be like, what are you, even in Game 7 against Dallas in 2021, I was like, what is that? Oh, and I just started going nuts. Like, he has those moments. But he also has the moments where those shots don't go in, and then he doesn't really contribute elsewhere, and that's what I think was what was happening in the month of October to start this season. I think he was playing really poorly, the worst version of himself, where he just wasn't hitting shots, and as a result, part of it's because he was forcing it, he was turning the ball over, not playing good defense as a result. And there are a lot of guys in the NBA that when they're that are not known for defense, and when their shots aren't falling and they're not cooking offensively, their defense suffers as a result. And I think Reggie Jackson is totally one of those guys. And his numbers in the month of November in those 7 games, 35% shooting the ball, 26% from deep, 9 points and 4 assists. He was shooting 10 shots a game, which that hasn't changed in the month of November. He's shooting exactly the same amount of shots, only 0.1 difference, 10.2 and 10.3. But his shooting was just terrible in the month of October, and that was part of the reason the Clippers weren't winning games. And I think you can point to the Cleveland game, the comeback that I attended, vlog of that on my channel. Awesome. That was the last Clipper game I actually went to. And that was such an awesome game. I think the best game of the season so far in terms of excitement, and probably the best win against a really good opponent who's playing really good basketball right now. And at the time of this recording, third place in the Eastern Conference behind the clear front runners to win the championship right now, Boston and Milwaukee. And Reggie had 18 points and 7 assists in that game on 6 of 11 shooting from the field and 2 for 5 from 3. And ever since then, he's just been amazing. The next game against the Lakers, 14 points on 50% shooting. The next win at Houston, 17 points on 7 for 11 shooting. The win against Detroit, 7 for 12 from the field, 23 points. The win against San Antonio in the next game, 20 points on 8 for 11 shooting. 4 for 4 from deep. And then against Utah, 27 points, his best game of the season high. 10 for 20. So in that 3-game winning streak in that homestand, he was absolutely unbelievable. And I think part of it's because he was just letting the game come to him a little more. And he had Kawhi Leonard out there and Paul George in that first game. And even though Kawhi Leonard and Paul George didn't shoot well in that first game, they created shots for Reggie. They let him get easier shots, catch and shoot Reggie. And then after that, when the best defenders are guarding Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, Reggie Jackson is now getting the third best defender, or maybe a point guard instead of a wing player, fighting over screens with him. And he's getting into the lane, hitting that floater, and able to play a little more pick and roll with Zoo. And of course, when, his shots, he's a streaky player. When his shots start falling, he starts hitting tough shots. And what I really liked about him in those 3 games was when his shots started falling, his defensive effort increased a lot. Whether it be just one-on-one guarding, moving his feet, or fighting over screens and trying to make Ivica Zubac not have to play 2 guys at once in that drop coverage. Reggie Jackson totally turned it around. And when we're getting that Reggie, John Wall can stay on the bench because he gives the Clippers something different and gives us that boost. And Reggie Jackson is a great catch-and-shoot 3-point shooter when he's on, much better than John Wall. As much as John Wall seemingly improved kind of from 3, he's still not a great 3-point shooter. Reggie Jackson, in my opinion, is much more reliable as a catch-and-shoot 3-point player. And that, I think, he is best suited. That is why he is best suited next to Kawhi and Paul George, like I said in the beginning of the season. Now, do I still think John Wall is the better player? Absolutely. Do I think he's had the better season for the Clippers? Yes, I do. But I right now stand by Reggie Jackson staying in the starting lineup. I just think it looks worse when we don't have Kawhi Leonard. And as of those last couple of games, against Golden State, 11 points and 4 for 9 shooting, that's pretty good for Reggie. It's not his fault we lost. The Warriors are starting to pick it up, and they're starting to play good basketball. They're now over 500. They beat the living snot out of the Timberwolves on Sunday night. Or I think it was, on Sunday night. And they're just playing good basketball lately. So there's no shame in losing to a fully healthy Warriors team at Chase Center without Kawhi, Paul George, and Kennard. Against the Nuggets, he was 4 for 8 from the field, Reggie. 9 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. And he did turn the ball over a little too much, 4 turnovers. Thought he was, didn't actually watch that game, so I can't really speak on it. That's the only Clipper game this season that I've missed. So forgive me, Clipper Nation, on that one. And I thought he played okay in the last game. Even though he shot 2 for 10, I think Ty Lue did a good job of not playing him too much. Only played 26 minutes, but in the minutes that he played, I thought he still didn't force it too much. He shot 10 times, but it didn't feel like forcing 10 shots. I thought he played within the flow of the offense, and as long as he doesn't take away too much from the team, and if he misses good shots, that's not a big deal to me because NBA players and human beings are going to miss shots. If you're taking the right ones, I will never be mad as a fan. Unless it's getting to a point where you're just missing way, way too much. And we haven't gotten to that point with Reggie. Definitely not in the month of November. He misses the right shots. I got no complaints. As long as he still competes on defense, that's probably the biggest question mark. But I wanted to give a segment and dedicate it to Reggie Jackson because he's played really, really well since I've been gone, since I was in Qatar. And I didn't get a chance to kind of cover those games. So I want to give him a shout out. And I think that that's part of the reason why the Clippers find themselves over 500 because they took care of business in that 3-game stretch. And I also want to say it really feels good to beat the Utah Jazz because anybody that knows me personally knows how much I dislike them. Sorry, Mr. Locke. I don't like them at all. And it was nice to get a little revenge after that home loss to them earlier on in the season. But coming up, another guy that's really stepped up for the Clippers. What has changed for him? And what can I see him doing towards the end of the season? How big is his impact going to be? That's Norman Powell. Going to be talking about him and what's turned it around for him coming up. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available? That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's not that hard to put up a hiring to look like you're hiring. Just add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. It's all about finishing the year strong and finding new employees to take you into that 2023 with the vision of your business. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right. To close it out, a guy that came under much scrutiny in the beginning of the season and has completely turned it around is Norman Powell. Obviously, the guy the Clippers got in the Eric Bledsoe Justice Winslow trade alongside Robert Covington from Portland, only played 5 games last season and played very well in most of them, almost all of them. But started out this season playing unlike his usual self, and it caused a lot of Clipper fans to be like, Norman sucks, he's taken away from the team. He's got to go in the trade deadline, all these, knee-jerk reactions. I will say, I even said maybe he's the odd man out because John Wall's been so good. And in the month of October, very similarly to Reggie Jackson, he was just abysmal shooting the ball. 38% from the field, 22.6% from 3, and only 11 points. He was also turning the ball over 2.6 times a game in those first 7 games. I think it was inserted into the starting lineup, and he wanted to kind of show he was the third wheel on this team, the third man, and he was forcing shots, just totally forcing shots. It felt like every time he got the ball, he was going to try to look to score. He just wasn't acting like a role player. He said before the season that he wants to be an all-star. He wants to seal that starting shooting guard spot for the Clippers, and I was concerned, if you remember me saying that on one of the episodes, that he can be prioritizing individual goals over the team concept, and that could force bad decisions. And that's exactly what was happening to start the season. And he was very inefficient those first couple of games and not playing very good defense as a result. But I think the game that kind of turned it around was the game on October 27th at Oklahoma City, the second of the 2 Oklahoma City road games. And even though those were bad games for the Clippers as a team, he shot 9 for 15 in the second one and had 21 points. And ever since then, he's been pretty damn good. In the month of November, he's actually been spectacular off the bench for the Clippers. 48% shooting, 42% from 3, 82% from the line, and he's averaging 15.6 points a game. The turnovers are down from 2.6 to 1.2. He has been fantastic. He's also scored in double figures in 10 of his last 11 games, and 5 of those 11 games, he has shot 50% or higher. So Norman Powell's really turning it around. How? I think it's just because he's let the game come to him, and you can see the confidence coming back. The way he's shooting the ball. You can just tell with certain guys shooting the ball when they release the ball and their follow through, they have a little pep in their step. They're releasing it like they know it's good. And lately, I've seen Norman Powell shoot the ball with that sort of confidence, like he knows it's going in. Where I know as a viewer on TV that it's going in. He's been shooting the 3 ball so much better, and it's not because he became a better shooter overnight. It's all confidence. It's all rhythm. He's very suited as a 6th man because he's kind of just like a come in, get me some buckets instantly, and create a couple of plays through his attention that he's getting from scoring, or gravity as some modern fans might like to call it. And I also think his defense has really stepped up over those first couple of games. I thought in those first couple of games, he was getting blown by fairly easily, just letting guys get around him, especially getting over screens, just kind of giving up. But I think he's been a lot more physical in the last month. Really bodied up on defense, squared his shoulders, moved his feet, and really done a better job effort-wise. And I think a big reason, same thing as Reggie Jackson, he's seen the ball go in, starting to feel that confidence, that energy, and say, I'm Norman Powell. I'm a champion. I earned that championship. I was a big part of that team, and I'm even better now, and I'm going to be a big part of this Clipper team that's going to do really great things come April, May. So Norman Powell really starting to cook for the Clippers. His performance against Utah was nothing short of spectacular. 30 points in that one on 10 for 15 shooting. And in the previous game against San Antonio, 26 points there. So even though he has shot a little poorly the last 2 games, 3 games really, if you want to be very strict and say he shot under 45% those last 3 games. But in the Indiana game, I thought he was really solid. He shot 37%. And that's not great, but I didn't have a problem with any of the shots he took. And he had 19 points off the bench, which is a boost, a huge boost. So field goal percentage is not everything. You want guys like Norman Powell to be aggressive as long as they're not taken away from other players. And without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, you can argue he's the Clippers' best scorer. And for him to have 19 points against Indiana on Sunday was a positive. Field goal percentage not being great or not. I think efficiency and field goal percentage can often be the most overrated statistic in the game, but a lot of people disagree. That's fine as well. Norman Powell, though, moral of the story, he's playing great. Clipper fans get behind him because if he continues to play like this and the Clippers kind of ascend in the standings, he will be in sixth-man conversations, I can promise you. But there you go. The main takeaways from this episode, it's okay to be concerned about what's happening with Kawhi right now. It really is. Paul George, I would not be too concerned, guys. I really wouldn't. Have the faith he'll be back. Have the faith Kawhi will be back too. And have the faith that it can turn around and the Clippers can have a Boston Celtics-like, and when I say Boston Celtics, I mean last season Celtics, kind of turn around as they start to get healthier come December, come January, and go on a run. But that run is going to have to happen. I'm seeing some people in the comments and on Twitter saying, we can't expect Kawhi to play a significant part of this season. Then the Clippers are not going to win the championship. You don't just develop chemistry in the playoffs. You might say, oh, well, the Warriors, they had a ton of injuries last season and they caught stride in the playoffs. Yeah, when their cores played together for 8 years. That's a difference. Their same coach for 8 years. It's a difference. It's not the same as the Clippers. And their offensive system is levels above any team in the league. Let's keep it a buck. But anyway, Reggie Jackson, Norman Powell, shout out to you guys. Keep it up. And Clippers Tuesday against the Portland Trailblazers. Not going to be an easy game. I'm not sure about Damian Lillard's status for this contest. I hope he gets well soon, but I hope he does not get well soon enough to play in this one. In their last game, the Portland Trailblazers lost to the Brooklyn Nets at the Barclays Center by 14 points, and Damian Lillard did not play with a right soleus strain. So hopefully, if he doesn't play, even without Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, maybe the Clippers can get a W. Portland is a very difficult place to play, and the Blazers are only 4-4 there so far this season, though, so maybe the Clippers can get a win there. Anyway, remember to comment on today's pinned question. How concerned are you about Kawhi Leonard's health right now on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of the Clippers' chances of winning the championship? As you know, my name is Darian Vaziri. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DimeDropperPod. Subscribe to my own YouTube channel, Dime Dropper, right now doing World Cup content. And remember the age-old proverb, go Clippers. Back on Wednesday night. Back Wednesday for an episode. Back Tuesday for the Clipper basketball. Go Clippers.